Hi everyone and welcome to a new video here on the So Helena Martyn YouTube channel. We're going back in time. For today's video, I'm feeling very nostalgic because I've been looking back to the 1990s and my favourite films when I was a child. The films that I was obsessed with. The films that I bought merchandise from and toys from. The films that I would try and impersonate the characters. The films that just I would watch over and over and over again on VHS. That's home video. If you don't know, then just Google it. I'm getting old. And what I've done is I've taken the synopsis of the films from Internet Movie Database, and then I've taken the score, the rating from Rotten Tomatoes. It's called the Tomato Meter reading, and it's the ones from the critics. So Rotten Tomatoes takes all the reviews and all the ratings from the critics and combines them in one place to give you an overall score, a percentage out of 100. So we're going to see how these films have fared in terms of critic responses. And we'll see whether I was, a child that was honing in on all the good films, or whether I was just going for all of the tat. I think it's going to be the latter. So they're not in any particular order. We're going to start off with the first film that I was obsessed with when I was growing up. Oh, very quickly, sorry, need to mention this. You may notice there's going to be a lack of Disney in this particular list. The reason is, if I included Disney, then that would be the whole top 10. There is a Disney film in here, but it's one of the lesser known ones that isn't really discussed a lot. So number 1, Galaxy Quest. So the synopsis of this one: the cast of a space opera TV series have to play their roles for real when an alien race need their help. This is a film starring Tim Allen, who at the time was just at the top of his game. He was doing Toy Story, he was doing Home Improvement, he was Santa, he was doing all sorts. Sigourney Weaver's in this as well, Alan Rickman, Sam Rockwell. It was from 1999. I'm a huge science fiction buff, and when I saw this film, I adored it. And it's like a spoof of Star Trek, but also it's spoofing it, but also taking the sci-fi genre seriously as well. There's bits where there's sort of serious drama and repercussions of things, but there's also laugh out loud scenes. I was a massive fan of Tim Allen, so I adored this film. It looked amazing. I thought the special effects were really good. I just thought it was great because it wasn't being a Mickey take. It wasn't saying that people who watch science fiction are daft. It wasn't saying that science fiction genre was daft. It was like a lovely homage to all the science fiction shows of the past, including, of course, Star Trek. And then it sort of got you thinking, ooh, I wonder what would happen, if William Shatner had to go and actually be Captain Kirk. I think the person that steals the show is Alan Rickman, because he's playing that sort of actor that gets stereotyped in a role and he can't do anything outside of this character that he's been portraying on this science fiction television series, and he sort of hates the fact that he's known for this character. Oh, and in terms of the tomato meter reading, this one scores a very high 90%. So that is a top-notch film. Not only do I think so, so does Rotten Tomatoes. 90%. Number 2, this film definitely isn't going to score 90%. This film, nobody ever talks about it. There was a famous TV series called Lost in Space, and I believe Netflix have done a version of it as well that I haven't seen yet. But in 1998, Matt LeBlanc, who you'll know as Joey from Friends, was trying to transition into movies, and he actually tried his hand at being an action movie star, and I don't think he did any more after this, but this was the main role for him, where he's playing a space captain or a commander, and it was the Lost in Space movie. Gary Oldman's in it as well, Heather Graham, William Hart, Mimi Rogers, but yeah, Matt LeBlanc is Don West, and I was a big fan of Friends, and I loved him as Joey, and I remember really defending him in this role, because people would say, oh, he wasn't very good, but I'd be like, no, he was great, he was so cool. But if you go back and listen to some of the dialogue, especially between him and Heather Graham, it is a bit cringeworthy and a bit dated. But there was one scene I remember on the spaceship. Oh, not on their spaceship, it was on a different spaceship. I haven't even read the synopsis yet. Get to that in a second. I'm just getting too excited. There was this scene where he had like this built-in helmet in his spacesuit. So when he was about to get attacked by something, this helmet would come from the back and then over his face. I remember it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Special effects were really good for the film, I thought. And you could get a toy of Matt LeBlanc that had that helmet. So the Robinson family was going to space to fight for a chance for humanity. Now they are fighting to live long enough to find a way home. So this was 1998, and it got 28%. 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. So not a very high score there. But you can make up your own mind, and if you want to see Matt LeBlanc in a very different role as Don West, then make sure you go and watch Lost in Space. Next up, I think this film maybe affected me more than any other. So this was 1994, and the film is The Mask. Smoking! So bank clerk Stanley Ipkiss is transformed into a manic superhero when he wears a mysterious mask, starring, of course, Jim Carrey, and in her first film role, Cameron Diaz. Where do I start with this film? I would make cardboard cutouts of masks to look like the one that he had in the film. And there's a scene where he first puts on the mask and he goes a bit crazy. And I would be in my bedroom. I would have the subtitles on the screen. So this is later on when I had the DVD. And I would then get my cardboard mask and I would put it on my face and I would recreate that scene as if I was then transforming into the mask. For years, I wanted to get one of the masks that had been made, one of the green masks that you could wear over your head, but I never got one. I had all the toys from the Mask television series. There was an animated series that came from this, which I adored. So I had the Mask in his yellow suit, and he had like a spinny head. You pushed a button, and then one of the heads dropped down. The other head came out, and he had a bit more of a manic expression on his face. I loved Milo the dog. There's a scene in it that makes me cry. I thought this Stanley Ipkiss was a lot like me. he was the nice guy that got a little bit pushed around, and when I was a child I was bullied and that sort of thing, and so I thought, yeah, I'm Stanley Ipkiss. And I always thought that he looked so cool with his hair swished over to the side. I loved The Mask as a movie. There's so many catchphrases, the performance from Jim Carrey. You just like this throughout the whole film, just like, what on earth? How can somebody have that much energy? And this is a film that I watch every now and then because I love it. The animation works really well still today. It doesn't really because it's like meant to be a cartoon. It doesn't date as much as some of the other films, and I think it really stands up well compared to some of the other films on my list. Cameron Diaz, for it being her first film role, does tremendously well. And what I liked from this film is she decided to then not take like mainstream films as roles. She then decided to go off and do a lot of independent films. So I got a lot of respect for Cameron Diaz. And this scored a respectable 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. So we're back up there. But we're coming back down to reality with our next one on the list. Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. The Flintstones. Fantastic cartoon. I loved Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Yogi Bear, The Jetsons, Wacky Races, Catch the Pigeon, and The Flintstones was pretty high on that list of favourite cartoons. And I was so excited when I knew that they were going to make like a live action version. And it's a film that I still like watching. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure. So in a parallel modern day Stone Age, a working class family, the Flintstones, set up for an executive job. So that's Fred Flintstone. He's been set up for an executive job, but then they learn that money can't buy happiness. So you've got Fred, Barney, Wilma, Betty. You've got John Goodman, He plays Fred Flintstone. Elizabeth Perkins you've got as Wilma. You've got Rick Moranis, which is perfect casting for Barney. And you've got Rosie O'Donnell as well as Betty. Halle Berry is in this movie as well. I love it. I think they got the Jim Henson Company to do all of the puppets of the dinosaurs. So I thought they looked really cool. I thought the characters were brought to life quite well. I think the overall story is a bit meh when you watch it back. But as a guilty pleasure, it's got to be on my list. I just really like the look of this film, and it sums up a Sunday afternoon round my nana's. We're about to play Scrabble or something. And what's going to come on the TV? It's the Flintstones movie at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's watch it. And this scored 22% on Rotten Tomatoes. So not a very high score there. So that was from 1994, The Flintstones. Next on the list is another movie that really connected with me when I was younger, and it is Mrs. Doubtfire. It's from 1993. After a bit of divorce, an actor disguises himself as a female housekeeper to spend time with his children held in custody by his former wife. So it stars Robin Williams, Sally Field, and Pierce Brosnan. So this really resonated with me when I was a kid because my mum and dad are divorced, and it just really helped me and reassured me that everything was going to be all right in the end, and that, you know, they're both going to be there for me, and it just put a lot of my fears to rest. And I think it did for a lot of children that came from that sort of background. The performance by Robin Williams is phenomenal. There are so many classic scenes in this movie. My favourite scene in particular is when they go to it's not a water park, but they go to the swimming pool. It's a drive-by fruiting. He throws a lime at Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan at this time looks amazing. Sally Field, I think I quoted in one of the vlogs from the ship when we were in a shop and we needed to get out because we were getting lured in by all the clothes, and I quoted Sally Field from this film where she's like, "We've got to go. I've got to go. I've got to go now. We've got to go. Let's go. We've got to go now." Mrs. Doubtfire got 71% on Rotten Tomatoes. Next on the list, it's the film that is on my shirt here. It is Space Jam. Loved Space Jam. So in a desperate attempt to win a basketball match and earn their freedom, the Looney Tunes seek the aid of retired basketball champion Michael Jordan. So this stars basketball player Michael Jordan, who had no previous acting experience whatsoever. It stars Wayne Knight and Bill Murray. And this is just such a fun, silly movie, and I really recollect watching this when I was a kid. I would spend hours in the back garden with one of those hoops that you could attach to a brick wall. I'd be there with my basketball, and I'd be practicing as if I was Michael Jordan at the beginning of that film, and all I wanted to do was play basketball with the Looney Tunes. I've been told that there is going to be a Space Jam sequel. I don't know if they're going to be able to recapture the glory of the first Space Jam. I know that the Looney Tunes had another film called Back in Action with Brendan Fraser, and I don't think that did too well. There's something about where this film was in time. The performance as well. You throw Bill Murray into the mix, and it's just a recipe for success. And Space Jam got 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. Next, Robin Williams is back in the mix, and it's Jumanji. I was so scared of that board game. I actually watched Jumanji the other day, and you compare it with the modern day Jumanji, and like the modern day one has like so many more jokes in it and is far less frightening than that original one. The original one is like a horror film for kids. I had nightmares for ages about like being drawn into a board game. So when two kids find and play a magical board game, they release a man trapped for decades in it, and also a host of dangers that can only be stopped by finishing the game. So it stars Robin Williams, Jonathan Hyde, Kirsten Dunst, Bradley Pierce, and Bonnie Hunt. It was just really clever. At the time, the special effects were were amazing. You go back and watch it now, and they're a little bit. You can tell that it was made in the 1990s, especially when you see the monkeys. But you have to respect, though, at that time it was revolutionary, and those sort of effects weren't done a great deal. And they were inventing stuff. They were inventing how to do things with this movie. This film scored 54% on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it would have been higher than that. I thought it was considered an absolute classic. If you've only seen the recent Jumanji film, make sure you go on, I think it was on Netflix, you can watch it, the original Jumanji, and just see how different in tone they are, because they are very different. I also loved, there was a cartoon spin-off of Jumanji that used to be on ITV, and I used to watch that when I got home from school. Okay, so this is a Disney film next, and it's from 1999. Inspector Gadget. A security guard's dreams come true when he is selected to be transformed into a cybernetic police officer, starring Matthew Broderick, Rupert Everett, and Julie Fisher. I'll tell you now that this film only scores 21%, but I don't care. I loved the animated series of Inspector Gadget when I was a child, and so I was thrilled when they were going to make a movie of it. When I saw the movie, I just wanted to be Inspector Gadget. And you go back now and you watch it, and it is very corny. It is very cheesy, but I still get a huge amount of pleasure out of watching that film. I thought the special effects looked really good, and the thing that just put the cherry on the cake is in the final credits, they have Brains, who is the dog of Penny, and Brains has this collar on that allows him to speak. And when he talks, it is the original voice of Inspector Gadget from the television series. So these films that I'm reeling off now, these are all getting very low ratings. So the next film is a Macaulay Culkin film, but it's not Home Alone. It's from 1994, and he's basically playing the same character, but this time he's got a lot of money. It's Richie Rich. A rich young boy finds his family targeted in an inside job and must use his cunning to save them. So Macaulay Culkin, Edward Herrmann, who stars in Gilmore Girls, a series that I watched with Helena a couple of years ago. Christine Ebersole, and Jonathan Hyde is back, so he's been in Jumanji, and he's also in Richie Rich. I just wanted to be Richie Rich, because he had all this money and he had all these gadgets, and he could just create anything that he wanted to create. I remember there's a scene where you go into his bedroom and it's like the coolest bedroom ever, where there's a wall that turns into a basketball court or something. All he has to do is press a remote, and his room's just turned into a games room. It's a film that I watched over and over and over again on video. I think we videoed it at my granddad's, and then I had it on tape, so every time I went round to my granddad's I would stick it on and watch it. So Richie Rich, Macaulay Culkin, and this only scored 24%. And my final film, so the films previously have all been family-friendly films. This is a film that's got a 12 rating. I know, terrible. So this is a superhero film back when they weren't quite sure how to make superhero films cool. The start of this film is really cool, and I love the way it's done, but then it just descends into a bit of a farce and all these really corny one-liners and very cheesy, and a bit like Batman with Adam West, when tonally it should be something a lot darker, and it's The Shadow. So if you've not heard of The Shadow, it was a comic book character, and then they made this film here. I think it was also a radio character. In the 1930s, in New York City, the Shadow battles his nemesis, who is Genghis Khan, who is building an atomic bomb. So it stars Alec Baldwin as the Shadow, John Lone, Penelope Ann Miller, Ian McKellen is in this, and Tim Curry. Now, you reel off those list of names there. How can this be a bad film? Tim Curry's performance is fantastic, as always. Ian McKellen plays this really geeky science man. The beginning of this film is set on a bridge. I can vividly remember it, and the Shadow is like teasing and taunting all of these villains, and you just can't see him. And then the last shot before like the credits start at the beginning of the film, you just see him up close. He's got like a red it's not a handkerchief, but he's got like red cloth over here, this part of his face. So all you can see is his eyes, because he wears a big black hat, and he wears all black. He's got a black cape, and I know exactly what he wears because obviously I loved this film. And there was also a fancy dress party on the cruise ships once where I went as the Shadow. So I will insert a couple of pictures of me dressed as the Shadow. And this scored higher actually than Richie Rich and Inspector Gadget. It scored 36%. So there you go. There's the top 10 films that I watched when I was a kid that had a real effect on me. If you want, go and watch them. And then see how you feel about those films as an adult, or if you're watching this and you are still a child, then go and watch these films and let me know what you think of them in today's age as a child. Yeah, that'd be really interesting to know. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was really cool for me to go back and reminisce on some of my favourite films, and I'd love to know what some of your favourite films were when you were children, and then I can go and check those out and report back as well. I'm always looking for things to watch on Netflix and Amazon. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, and if you haven't hit the bell button, then hit that one as well, because you'll be notified as to when we release new videos. At the moment it's Mondays, Thursdays and Sundays. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.